Welcome back, guys. We're still in History 1302. This is Section 2, Part 3 of Reconstruction. This is Part 3 of a four-part series. In this series, in this part, we're going to discuss Ulysses S. Grant and Rutherford Hayes. That's kind of interesting, guys. We talked about Andrew Johnson. We talked about how Andrew Johnson was just terrible with Reconstruction. We talked about the radical Republicans that really tried hard to impeach Johnson. They missed him by one vote. So the radical Republicans, remember we talked about the radical Republicans, or this group, they're a Republican Party, but they do not feel the Republican Party as a whole has gone far enough to make all these changes in the South during Reconstruction. They don't believe that they've gone far enough. So they have to find a candidate, and they're going to find a guy that is the perfect candidate for them because he's going to be very popular. They're going to find the 18th president, Ulysses S. Grant. Now, Grant had been a general in the American Civil War. Grant had been we talked about Grant in History 1301, guys. I think he was a pretty successful general. But Grant is the guy that can do one thing. Grant is a general in a war. He's really great at that. Is he good at being a president? Grant is not. Grant will go down as one of our worst presidents ever. Him and Herbert Hoover are always right. Grant's cabinet will be full of corruption. Sad thing about Grant is I don't really think Grant knew all this was going on. Grant brought people into his cabinet and Grant trusted them. Remember, during the American Civil War, he could trust people. Sherman, Sheridan, all of his generals. He told them what to do. He trusted them. When you're the president, that doesn't happen. Grant will be there for 8 years. Reconstruction will continue under Grant's administration. Okay, if anything, there'll be racial riots in the South. It will actually get worse. Okay. Now, Grant will be followed up by the 19th president, a guy named President Rutherford B. Hayes. Now, I want to end this lecture on an interesting story, and it deals with Rutherford B. Hayes. Guys, Rutherford B. Hayes, and I'm looking back at my PowerPoint, will run against a guy named Samuel Jones Tilden, Tilden. He is the governor of New York. And the reason it's kind of odd, most people have never heard of this guy. Actually, what happened, guys, is they have the election. This guy wins the election. Okay? But there was some controversy is whether or not they let some people vote. Because of that, we saw that in Florida in the 1990s. Remember the hanging chads and all that? Guys, the thing about history that you quickly figure out is it's never the first time in history. Okay, so Tilden won the election, but there was some question on whether or not some of these freed slaves were allowed to vote, whether or not there was open voting at the polls. So what will happen is a group of men will get together, and I'm trying to look at my PowerPoint. It's 15. 15 men will get together. 15 men will get together. They're going to bring in Tilden, and they're going to bring in Rutherford Hayes, and they're going to ask them basically several questions. But the main emphasis of this interview is, what are you going to do with Reconstruction? Rutherford Hayes says, put me in, it's over with. Good, you're in. Rutherford Hayes will become our 19th president and did not win the election. He is put into office under what is called the Rutherford B. Hayes Compromise. You probably will see that on a test question. But the Rutherford B. Hayes Compromise is the fact that he is put into office to end Reconstruction. And that's what he does. Rutherford B. Hayes does not have that much of an outstanding presidency. I like to end this on a kind of an interesting note. His wife was named Lily. Her nickname was Lemonade Lily because when Rutherford Hayes gets into office, Grant and his guys had been there for 8 years. Grant was a whiskey drinking, cigar smoking guy, and you could just kind of imagine the good times were always rolling when Grant was there. And when Miss Hayes gets there, she says automatically, no smoking, no drinking, none of this. We're cleaning up this place. And she was nicknamed Lucy Lemonade because, or Lily or Lucy, I forget which one, because of her, her the way her views were on alcohol. So, guys, we are getting at the end of this lecture. We will come up with our first essay. I want to talk about your first essay question that will be coming in. And that's the moral failure essay. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about, we're going to wrap this session up. So, with that said and done, we will wrap it up next. Bye, guys.